Hello friends, how are you? Hope you are doing well. So let us continue our discussion with related to the environmental management system and its requirements. So the next requirement is about the awareness. The organization shall ensure that these people or the personnel doing work under the organizational control are aware of the environmental policy, its significant environmental aspects and associated impacts, and we can think about the awareness about the contribution of the effectiveness of the environmental management system, including the significant benefits of the enhanced environmental performance, its implication of not conforming to the environmental management system requirements, including not fulfilling the organizational compliance obligations, what can go wrong, what can be the losses related to this, so that also you can tell to the people and they need to be aware about it. So, as an auditor, what documents we can verify related to ensure that awareness related requirement? So, regular participation in discussion on the performance and effectiveness of EMS. So, that participation rate we can check, a degree of implementations, and instruction or training certificates, verification of the knowledge of environmental policy, environmental goals, reports of the delegated representatives. So, for this to ensure, as an auditor, what questions you can ask in the organization to the auditees, like has that organization ensured awareness in terms of environmental policy, significant aspects, impacts, and the benefits of the environmental performance, enhanced environmental performance, and implications if not conforming to the EMS requirements actually. Next is about the requirements of the support section, where we are talking about the communication first. So let us think about the communication system, or the organization shall establish, implement, and maintain any process which is required for internal and external communications relevant to the environmental management system, which can include what it will be communicating, when it will be communicating, with whom to communicate, and how to communicate. So it's a kind of communication protocol to be set up actually. So when establishing the communication process, the company shall take into account its compliance obligatory requirements, compliance obligations, ensuring that environmental information communicated is in consistency with the consistent with information generated within the environmental management system, and it shall be reliable also. So for this to ensure, as an auditor, what evidences you can check or review, like communication matrices, meeting routines, records, reporting system, key account managers, their communication profile, and we can think about the account executives, the contact persons, informations actively provided to the service providers or suppliers, the website of any the organization, meetings, we can think about the assignments of the electronic resources, the teleconferences, web conferences, inquiring from interested groups or interested parties, the complaints. So for this to ensure certain KPIs like participation rate of the employees in the employment survey, employee surveys, number of the complaints which you can verify. And you can ask certain question as an auditor, like has that organization established the process which is required for internal and external communications, like what to communicate, when to communicate, with whom to communicate, and how to communicate, and to ensure that information which is being shared, it's having the reliability or not, like its reliability we are talking about, information reliability. Is that documented information being retained as an evidence of the communication? So this is what you can ask to the auditee. Next is about internal communication. So for internal communication, the organization shall internally communicate the information relevant to the EMS, environmental management system, among the various levels, functions of the organization, including the changes to the environmental management system as well, and ensure the communication processes being communicated to the persons who are working under the control of the organizations, and they are contributing to the continual improvement as well. So for this to ensure, you can verify certain information like certain documents related to the notice boards or information to the employees which the organization is sharing with respect to the environmental management system, meeting the routines or the records, meeting routine or records. We can think about the reporting system, key account managers, account executives also, and their communications profiles, meetings, assignment of the electronic resources, teleconferences, web conferences. So these things you can ensure. what questions you can ask as an auditor, like has the organization internally communicated information relevant to the EMS, and the organization shall ensure that communication process enable persons to contribute to the continual improvement or not. So that's also one more important question which you can ensure, that this process of communication shall be contributing to the continual improvement also. Next is about the requirement of the external communications. So the organization shall externally communicate informations relevant to the environmental management system, and for this to verify, you can go through with certain requirements or certain evidences, like contacts with the relevant authorities, routine discussions, list of the contact people, contact persons you can say, and information of the neighborhood, websites, extranet. We can think about the public relations and information on the service provider. So for this to ensure, you can ask certain questions like whether that organization communicated information externally and as defined by the organization in its communication process and as required under the compliance obligation requirements as well. Next is about the documented information. What documented information means is the organization shall maintain certain informations in a documented manner actually. So the organization shall include like documented information required by the international standards and documented information determined by the organization for the effectiveness of the environmental management system. So for this to ensure that effectively being maintained, we need to consider certain factors like size of the organization, its type of activities, processes, products and services, the need to demonstrate the fulfillment and its compliance obligations, complexity of the processes and their interactions, and the competency of the people as well. Then to verify this, what documents you can, as an evidence you can verify as an auditor, we can think about the management reviews, the performance charts, the environmental objectives, environmental policy, communications, action plans, reports from the environmental representatives, employee informations on notices, agendas, right? Employee development plans, their performance reviews, their recruitment processes, feedback sessions, the project related plans, investment plans related to the environment management system, company agreements, continual improvement projects, and thinking about the results from the management meetings or company guidelines. So these are certain documented information which you can maintain and you can verify as an auditor when you're going for auditing any organization. So questions what you can ask, like does this EMS include documented information required as per the international standards, and this documented information determined by the organization to be necessary for the effectiveness of the environmental management system. Next is about when creating and updating documented information, the organization shall ensure the identification and description like title, date, author, reference numbers, the formats, its language, software versions, graphics, media, paper, electronic, or shall ensure the review and approval of the suitability and adequacy actually. So for this to verify, you can check stipulation of the identification methods, coding, number key, title, date, and formats, language, software, graphics, paper, electronic media, assignment of the responsibilities for examination and approval. So you can ask this question like, has that organization assured the appropriate identification and description of the document? So we need to make a list of documents or document registers, the formats and media, like which format it is, paper, written documents, or in a web format or software you have uploaded this, or electronic copies. So we can think about review and approval process for the suitability and adequacy for the documented information. Next is about these controls of the documented information. Controls, what sort of controls? You can see that documented information required by the environmental management system and by the international standards shall be controlled to ensure it's available for use, it's suitable for use whenever, wherever it's required, it's adequately protected, like from the loss of the confidentiality, improper use, and loss of integrity. So for this control of documented information, the organization shall address the following activities as applicable, like distributions, the document distribution, its access, its retrieval and uses, its storage, its preservation, including the legibility also, control of the changes, version controls, retention and dispositions also we need to ensure them. So for this to verify, you can check as an auditor like documented management system, list of valid documents, the document registers, distribution keys, revision list, amendment procedures, approval procedures, handling rules, electronic security system, archiving rules, list of external documents, control and marking of the external documents like laws, standard, customer specification records. So this you can verify. What questions you can ask related to this particular requirement of controlling the documented information? So is this documented information controlled to ensure availability and suitability for use wherever and whenever it is needed? Adequate protections. As I said earlier, that have that following requirements been addressed related to the distribution, access, retrieval, storage, preservation, retention, disposition of these documented informations. And we need to think about the documents of external origin as well. We need to consider, and we can ask to the auditee as well that whether the documents have been identified and controlled for external origin or not. Thank you friends for now. We'll continue our discussion. Thank you.